Let's break it down with tonight's party panel. We've got host of the Gary and Shannon Show on KFI AM 640 in Los Angeles. It is Gary Hoffmann. And we've got Fox News senior political analyst keeping our nation's capital safe. It is Juan Williams. And we've also got the co-founder of Based Politics, the one and only Brad Polumbo. So, Gary, I will start with you. Does this do anything to change the former president's poll numbers, or where he stands with voters right now?
It's going to be hard to say. I mean, good old fighting Asa Hutchinson came out of his corner and made a very boring but predictable statement about it. We'll see if Ron DeSantis, if Nikki Haley, if Tim Scott, if any of these people actually come out and can make any ground out of it, or can I make any ground on the president when it comes to reducing the lead in the polls. I don't know. I mean, it seems like a former president who is now being held civilly liable for sexually abusing a woman and defaming a woman, gosh, that would chip away at some of his numbers. But there's an amazingly strong hold that he's got on the Republican Party. I'm not quite sure why, to be honest with you. And it's frustrating. I mean, it's frustrating that, for example, as Brian pointed out there, he truthed this morning that he doesn't even know who this woman is. That's not a legal defense against rape or a sexual abuse claim. Oh, that's like saying, I've been accused of defrauding a financial institution out of tens of millions of dollars, but I don't even know what HSBC stands for. That's not a defense for the crime that he was accused of or the claim that was filed against him. So it's frustrating that so many people are going to continue to line up. The Republican Party and the Democrat Party, I know we'll talk about Joe Biden later, but they've got to be frustrated that this is the leader of the party right now, that this is the best we can do is these two guys. It's head-shakingly frustrating.
I mean, but that's what frustrated Republicans say about Joe Biden. Aren't these the two titans of party politics that we deserve, Juan?
Oh, boy. I guess that's a condemnation of us, Kennedy, because that's what we've got. You know, I was just picking up on this thought that if there was a debate, and, you know, Fox has got a debate coming in August, Trump says he's not going to play, but if he was to play, can you imagine? So you would have the other candidates on stage able to say, Mr. Trump, you have been found to have sexually assaulted a woman. And, you know, I don't know what he responds. He can come across with bravado and lies, but that's a fact. And I think it's got to have an impact on the Republican audience. They already know that he has a lot of baggage attached, but it's been a sort of slow chipping away process, and I just think this is getting heavy. The amount of baggage has got to start weighing on people at some point, especially, I might say, the evangelicals.
All right, so Brad, what changes people's minds? Because, you know, there are a lot of conservatives who look at this and go, you know, at some point we have to take issue with something, and then other people go, the whole thing's a witch hunt. Everything. He was not found liable for rape, and it's because this jury pool was tainted. That's why he's having to pay $5 million. They're just trying to get back at him because they're mad he was president.
Yeah, look, I understand why people think there's been witch hunts to get Trump, because on some things there has. I mean, you think of Russiagate. Obviously, at times, the media and the powers that be have been unfair to Donald Trump. But we should evaluate every case on its merits, and this is not one of those times. I looked into this jury. It's full of normal, apolitical people, and even a couple people who seem to be right-wing based in their media habits and some information we have about them. Yet they unanimously found that Donald Trump sexually abused a woman. Everyone deserves their day in court, but he got his, and the jury decided it's more likely than not that he sexually abused a woman. That should be disqualifying. Frankly, if you're a social conservative or you just care about basic decency, support anyone else in this 2024 primary field. There's so many options that don't have this baggage, Kennedy.
Yeah, I'm wondering if my options are Dave Smith or Spike Cohen. Things are very exciting for libertarians.